Yes.
I was reading in the paper between you and your opponent in the primary, John Stevens, right now, that he is saying that he does not believe in earmarks. Do you feel that it's important for earmarks occasionally when it helps New Hampshire, or what are your feelings on earmarks?
Well, Allison, thank you for that question. Let me tell, first of all, what an earmark is. An earmark is when an individual member of Congress writes into legislation a funding request for his or her state. And so when people from Hampton approached me about the bridge between Hampton Beach and Seabrook, I rolled up my sleeves and I went to work to try to get money for that bridge's repairs on the red listed bridge list of the state. Or Judd Gregg has done the same thing to try to alleviate the congestion issues on the bridge between Dover Point and Newington. Those are earmarks. Now, we have a problem with earmarks. And the problem is that individual members of Congress can do some pretty creative things, and I'm being generous when I say creative, and some bad things. And that's how we get bridges to nowhere. And that's a problem. And my answer is fix the problem, but don't put a state at jeopardy. And so here's what I would propose that we would do, and what I did when I was in Congress. We have to have complete openness and accountability, transparency, merit-based system for awarding. So my name should be on the bridge funding request between Hampton Beach and Seabrook. No problem with that. You know what I'm doing when I do that. We should have an up or down vote on any earmark. They should be awarded based on merit. One good way, which I supported, was a line item veto to make sure that they were merit-based. But if you say, as some people, and you note one of the gentlemen running against me in the Republican primary has said, no earmarks under any circumstances at all, that means when General Simeone comes to me and says, we need to upgrade the New Hampshire National Guard facilities, nobody's going to be able to do that if you take that pledge for no earmarks. Or even more ominously is the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Now I know everybody in this room, because we're from the seacoast, you're from the seacoast, I'm not, knows of the difficulty of keeping that facility open. I was part of the delegation in 2005 that, with a lot of help from, I'm sure, a lot of people in this room, wearing yellow shirts, going on Route 1 or going to the hearing in Boston, kept that open. And it was an argument that was made that Portsmouth was indispensable to the future military needs of our country, to service the submarine fleet and to make sure that we have a viable fleet against the expanding Chinese Navy, for instance. And those were the arguments that we made. And we were able, with a lot of help, to overturn what was a wrong-headed decision by the Pentagon and the Navy. But now there's a more insidious threat. And that threat is that the Navy will not fund needed upgrades at Portsmouth. And here's what happens when if that happens. Portsmouth right now services the Los Angeles class of submarines. But they're slowly being retired. And as the Virginia class of submarines takes over more and more of the day-to-day submarine responsibility for our country, they will be the subs that need to be serviced. And Portsmouth can't effectively do that without funding to upgrade their industrial infrastructure. So the congressional delegation, all of the members that I'm aware of from New Hampshire and Maine, are supporting a $21 million earmark to do so, and have to do so because of the Navy's intransigence to funding it. And so if you have a member of Congress, say it was me, or the member from Maine from the 1st District, who said, we're not going to participate in this and we're not going to do it, then if you don't have the House and the Senate pulling the oar in the same direction, that funding is not likely to happen for Portsmouth. And it may well go to Portsmouth's competitors in Virginia, another shipyard there, or Washington State or Hawaii. They upgrade, they modernize, they're more competitive. Portsmouth gets further behind the 8 ball, and then, and there will be a then, when the next round of closure comes, the congressional delegation in the future is over a barrel. And 5,000 jobs are potentially lost, and hundreds of millions of dollars of economic activity are lost. That's what's at stake. So my pledge to you is to reform the process, make sure it's open, transparent, accountable, that it's worked, that your money is not being wasted, but not to put my state and my region over a barrel. I didn't do that in 2005. We worked together on a very bipartisan basis as well. We should have, and that's what has to happen in the future. And I've been there, I know what is involved, and that's what I'll do again.